We have sad news to pass along. Iowa Cubs second baseman Javier Baez has lost not only his sister but his best friend and his inspiration. 21-year-old Noelle Baez battled and overcame the odds from day one. She was born with spina bifida, and sadly Noelle passed away earlier this week. The Chicago Cubs family is keeping Javier and the entire Baez family in its thoughts and prayers during this difficult time. We'll have Cubs baseball next. Is brought to you by Budweiser. Still brewed the hard way. This Bud's for you. Honda Dream Garage Sales Event. Now it's your Honda dealer. Napa, home of Napa know-how. Ford, America's best-selling brand, inviting you to go further in our fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out our entire lineup at your Ford store or at localfordstores.com. Subway, make a smart play for savory subs this season. Score more flavor at Subway restaurants. Subway, eat fresh. And by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Cubs baseball in beautiful high definition on WGN TV is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Sellout crowd here at Coors Field on a sun-splashed Friday afternoon. Mild temperatures, a lot of short sleeves in the stands. That's good to see. And the weather should be pretty nice all weekend long. And let's check out the Cubs batting order. It's brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. The snow-capped Rockies in the background. Dexter Fowler, a former member of the Rockies. You see what he did as a Rocky in this ballpark. Jorge Soler bats second. Anthony Rizzo scored the game-winning run, knocked in by his teammate Starlin Castro on Wednesday. Mike Olt with his second start of the year. Matt Caesar with his first. 3 games, 3 starting catchers for the Cubs. It's Wellington Castillo today. The pitcher bats 8th, and Arismendi Alcantara will hit 9th and play second.
Let's take a look at the Rockies defensive alignment for this afternoon's ball game. Corey Dickerson will be in left field today. Drew Stubbs in center. Carlos Gonzalez is the right fielder. Boy, a lot of gold gloves on that infield. Aaron Nato and LeMahieu won gold gloves last year. Troy Tulowitzki has a couple of those to his credit. Wilin Rosario, the former catcher, he'd be the weak link defensively for the Rockies. Nick Hundley, solid veteran behind the plate today. And the pitcher's young left-hander, a fellow by the name of Tyler Matzik. Look at his spring numbers. He had a 6 ERA in 4 starts, but pitched well for the Rockies last year, as we talked about in our open. Pretty solid stuff despite a losing record, and was really good here in this home ballpark.
So the umpires, Walcott, Cedarstrom, Cooper, and Drake. And here's the former Rocky, Dexter Fowler, leading it off.
Number 24, Dexter Fowler.
So his first return to Denver since the Rockies traded him to Houston. And we're underway. A strike at the bottom of the knees to get us started.
Matzik, former #1 pick of the Rockies. Got a good lively heater.
Sharply hit ground ball. Arenado at third. JD mentioned he's already won 2 Gold Gloves in 2 big league seasons. And 1 quick out. Rockies got great starting pitching in Milwaukee from Kyle Kendrick, Jordan Lyles, and Eddie Butler. They're still without Jorge De La Rosa, who may be back in their rotation by the middle of next week. He's on the DL with a groin injury. And Jorge Soler takes ball 1.
Good depth in that breaking ball. Fastball, slider, curveball, and a change for Matzik. I mentioned the fastball sits right around 93 miles an hour.
One on the way, and Soler bounces foul.
Let's take a look at our Gander Mountain game time weather. Out there among the conifers, 62 degrees, light breeze, low humidity, partly cloudy. The clouds are closer because we're at altitude here. We're a mile high. Brought to you by Gander Mountain. Low price every day, guaranteed.
We're a mile closer, right?
Yeah.
I'm not good at math, but Soler with a triple the other day against the Cardinals. He's 1 for 7 with 3 strikeouts. Takes up just about the entire batter's box as he took a vicious hack there. Yeah, sun shining, gorgeous conditions. Here comes a 2-2. Good take on a close one, and it's 3-2 on Soler. Rizzo on deck, just got started.
We've seen this a lot from Soler. Good patient approach, typically works a deep count.
Mentioned Matzik, former high draft pick, 11th overall in 09. A couple of years later, he was their top prospect. He was at A-ball 2011. He ended up taking a month off during this season because he was struggling so much. He worked on his mechanics. He's beating himself up mentally as he gets Soler to chase a bad one, and that'll be his first strikeout. And of all the things here in Denver since they started playing baseball at the big league level in 1993 over at old Mile High Stadium, everyone's been trying to figure out what types of pitchers are most effective, what type of lineup do you need. When it all is said and done, JD, it's really about avoiding contact if you can as a pitcher.
Yeah, but because of that right there, as you look at this field, the light air obviously adds to a lot of home runs, but they tried to accommodate for that when they built this ballpark, so the dimensions are huge here. So for me, it's not so much about the home runs, it's about the batting average on balls in play. There's so much room to cover in that outfield.
1-0 now to Rizzo. So this is everybody.
So obviously, it's if you can keep the ball out of play, if you're a high strikeout guy, that seemed to be the kind of pitcher you'd want here. The guy who's had a ton of success is De La Rosa. He was a 10-game winner here in his home ballpark last year with a very low ERA. He seems to have figured it out. He's a fastball changeup pitcher.
And now 3 balls, no strikes.
You talked about Matzik's struggles as a minor leaguer. Control was the big issue. You look at his walk rates throughout his minor league career, they're awfully high. As a matter of fact, his walk rate as a big leaguer last year, the best of his professional career.
Well, it would have been ball 4, but it's a hit by pitch instead. It's the second time in 2 games he's been hit.
And just virtually impossible to get out of the way of that one.
The National League emblem. We'll bring up Starlin Castro, who has an 11-game hitting streak dating back to last August before his season-ending ankle injury. Game-winning RBI in the 7th inning on Wednesday. And ball 1. Can you believe there's a game today? We've only had 2 since starting the season.
I know.
It's kind of novel, isn't it? Starts a stretch of 6 games in the next 6 days. Trying to get into a big league season rhythm.
Yeah, and that's the irony of it, right? You get these off days early in the year because there's some scheduled off days, and then because of the weather, you typically have a rain out or 2. You don't really need the rest. Everybody's raring to go and wants to play every day. And then later in the year, when you're dragging, you'd love to have some off days. You can't find them on the calendar.
That's it, ahead in the count, 1-2, starting against the Cubs for the first time in his career. Pitched out of the bullpen last year in July against the Cubs. And Castro swings and foul tips for strike 3. A couple of Ks for Matzik. Travis Wood to the mound when we come back. Hits, 20 runs combined, and look at the big numbers. Look at all the hits at the top. Dickerson, Tulowitzki, Arenado, and Gonzalez all with at least 5 hits in that set. Reliever Rosario hit a game-winning home run off the bench in the 10th Wednesday. Drew Stubbs gets his first start of the year. Nick Hundley, the veteran catcher. First time in Rockies history they've hit the pitcher 8th, and DJ LeMahieu, the former Cub, bats 9th.
Cubs defensively, speed in the outfield, the priority here. Matt Caesar gets a start in left. He's got center fielder speed. Fowler certainly familiar with this outfield. He was here for 5 years. Solaire's in right. Old Castro, Alcantara, Rizzo third to first, and Wellington Castillo gets the start behind the plate. 3 games, 3 different catchers.
Here's Travis Wood with his first pitch of the 2015 season, fouled away by Dickerson. He flop spots with Jason Hamill, who will pitch tomorrow night.
Joe Madden was happy with the work he got out of Travis Wood this spring. Chris Bosio early in spring had a lot of good things to say about Travis. Feels like he's going to have a big bounce back year.
Dickerson lines right to Mike Olt. Hit it right at him for the out.
hang with them. For Travis Wood, maybe you're thinking, hey, maybe this is going to be my year. Give up a rocket and it's an out.
Well, Troy Tulowitzki, 4 doubles among his 6 hits already. The subject of all kinds of trade rumors over the winter. A lot of injuries he's dealt with the last 3 years as he takes a strike, costing him over 200 games on the DL. Wrist, groin, ribs, had the hip surgery last year. But when he's healthy, he's one of the best players in all of baseball.
And was probably having his best year prior to the injury last year. He was putting up huge numbers before getting hurt right after the All-Star game. .340, 21 home runs, a .432 on base, .603 slugging percentage for Tulowitzki before he got hurt last year. He was a leading vote getter for the All-Star team in the National League.
Wood with a 1-2 and it's fouled off. The first time since July 13th, 2008, both managers have hit their starting pitcher in the 8th spot. And that allows Joe Madden to use Jorge Soler, an RBI guy, in the 2 hole for the Cubs, and Walt Weiss can hit Tulowitzki 2. In the Rockies lineup, there's a flare and a Coors Field base hit. That's exactly what you were talking about earlier. Those quote cheap hits.
And I mean, they happen everywhere, but they happen more frequently here because of all that real estate to cover out there. And because of the light air, outfielders tend to play a little bit deeper. You could kind of question that strategy too. Maybe the thinking should be to play in a little more shallow and just concede balls that are juiced over your head are probably going to fly out of the ballpark and take away some of that.
It's always weird when we're here after being at Wrigley, or we go right back to Wrigley after being here, and just how huge this ballpark is and how intimate Wrigley is. Curve strike. Nolan Arenado. Awkward cut there by Arenado. We are working on our pitch speed graphic as Wood will throw over. Tulowitzki back. Former Cub Eric Young Sr. First base coach Stu Cole over at third. This is Fowler in center. That's out number 2. Back here on WGN Sports, and we'd love to see your Cubs selfies. Hashtag WGN Cubs. You can find us on Twitter. That's a great example of what we're looking for. It's the Lumineers. Carlos Gonzalez, another guy who needs to stay healthy for the Rockies to have a chance this year. Left knee surgery. His season ended last year in early August. 0 for 10 against Travis Wood. But as I referenced in the open, he has killed Cubs pitching in his career.
Off to a great start, 5 out of 13 with a monstrous home run off the scoreboard in Milwaukee the other day. And pretty much a lost season for him last year. He had the knee surgery. He also had surgery to repair a tendon in his finger. Only played 70 ball games. At 238. Wasn't able to drive the ball because of the leg issues.
Hit hard on the ground and past a diving Castro. Tulowitzki on his way to third and would get there easily. The corners with 2 outs. Yeah, this inning has been all about batting average on balls in play, which is one of the themes we mentioned.
Shifting, yeah, they're playing him to both, so Castro didn't have a long way to go, but didn't have a whole lot of time to get there either because the ball was so sharply hit by Gonzalez. Early danger here for Wood against a hitter who's really good against left-handed pitching in his career.
So Willeen Rosario is now a guy playing first base and kind of their emergency / third catcher. He was their starting catcher the last 3 years. No more for his offense than defense. And he takes a strike.
Yeah, good little change up there as Travis Wood. This is in a little wrinkle here. Rosario, good fastball hitter. This changeup will kind of get him off that heater a little bit. Perfect pitch, 78 miles an hour, right on the corner, bottom of the knees.
Well, change missed just outside. Wood 5'11", 175. He's 28 years old. Debuted in the big leagues against the Cubs with the Cincinnati Reds 2010. He went 7 innings and gave up just 2 hits and 2 runs that night.
Those 2 changeups allowed him to get away with that heater right there. Just slowed the bat down a little bit. Rosario had to respect the possibility of an off-speed pitch, and he was a little late on the heater. That's called good pitching. Now he's got options. Go soft, down and away again. See if you can get him to chase out of the zone. Or more typically, what you'd see from Travis here would be trying to throw that cutter in on his thumbs and jam him. Like heater away.
Fourth career start in this ballpark for Wood. 4.15 career ERA, no record. Another foul. Cubs made a roster move today. Right-hander Justin Grimm goes to the 15-day disabled list, retroactive to April 2nd. He's got right forearm inflammation, does not appear to be too serious. And they have recalled right-hander Brian Schlitter, who was in the bullpen today.
Tough break for Grimm, who was, he was so good in the second half of last year, but hopefully not a big issue. Just take some time off to let that settle down a little bit. Perhaps a rehab outing or 2 before he rejoins the club. And Brian Schlitter did some good work for the Cubs last year. Rejoins the ball club. It's good that the mountain man is here. Got all that hair and beard you need to be in the Rocky Mountains.
I agree. Another foul as this long at bat continues.
Brings Wellington Castillo out to the mound with the here's what I'm thinking. So they've gone changeups and fastballs away. That may have been the what do you think? You want to try to jam him here with a cutter conversation?
He's made 20 pitches this inning and 17 have been strikes. And you see what has gone on in this sequence. There's Chris Bosio, the pitching coach.
I figured Travis would be strong today. He worked just an inning 6 days ago in Arizona. Should be plenty fresh. The question would be how sharp will he be in terms of command.
First and third, 2 outs. Ground ball picked by Olt. Throw goes to Alcantara covering the bag at second, and the inning is over. Red Rocks, beautiful spot here in Colorado. 0-0. We've played an inning. Chicago Blackhawks, as they flew in last night, unfortunately lost to the Blues, but they'll play the Avs tomorrow night to wrap up the regular season. Cub fans, if you want to manage the game along with Joe Madden, log on to WGN TV. Right now, click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner. Connect to all the up-to-the-minute stats and info. Game Zone is sponsored by the Great Escape Pools, patio furniture, hot tubs, and more. Everything you need to have more fun at home this summer. Underway in the second, 2 balls, no strikes. And Mike Olt got the opening day nod at third base and went 0 for 4. And he lines one the other way for his first hit of the season. And the first Cubs base hit today. Brandon Hyde, take a look at Gary Jones across the way. Matt Caesar coming up.
Trying to clip the outside corner with a running fastball, and he was successful, but Olt stayed on it. Good solid line drive single the other way. Temptation for a guy with Olt's power on a 2-0 count like that would be to try to jerk the ball and try to pull that pitch. You probably roll over on it and hit a weak ground ball somewhere.
33 games last year for Matt Caesar in his big league debut. This is his first start of the season and his Coors Field debut. Matt had a terrific spring, beat out Ryan Sweeney, the final outfield spot. There's Joel Quenneville, the Blackhawks head coach. So the Hawks get ready for the Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm not sure where they'll start or who against, but it will be on the road. Caesar pulls one to deep left. Dickerson just onto the track makes the catch for the out.
Continuing a theme we saw in spring training, Matt Caesar hitting the ball in the air with authority. He was a guy coming up through the Cubs minor league system, and a little bit we saw from the big league level, hitting the ball on the ground and using his speed, but he's retooled his swing and hitting the ball with more authority.
First action of the season for Wellington Castillo. David Ross Sunday night, Miguel Montero Wednesday. Now catcher number 3. He had a good spring, if not a weird one, considering he had been the incumbent starter. He has said and I think done all the right things, JD.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe Maddon has done a real nice job managing that situation, talking to his guys, letting them know what his plans are. And trying to get at bats for everybody.
Ooh, that was behind him. Really got away from Matzik. And that'll be a very wild pitch. That's a VWP in your scorebook.
I'm going to mark it as such right now in red ink, a VWP. And boy, how do you 9 times out of 10, a hitter's going to back into that one. Because that's just your natural reaction when you see the ball coming in your direction, is to move back from home plate. Castillo able to hold his ground and avoid the hit.
One ball, one strike.
You think before throwing that pitch, Matzik said to himself, whatever you do, don't miss out over the plate. You're going to try to crowd him. And what does the poor hitter think, right? Normally a hitter after each pitch will kind of go through a little checklist. Oh, what's he trying to do to me? What is this pitch meant to set up? The one behind you, I'm not sure how you respond to that as a hitter. What's he going to do now?
He's gone outside on the next 2 pitches, so it's 3-1. Travis Wood is on deck. He hit 2 homers in spring training. Actually, both these pitchers do a pretty good job with the bat. Matzik can hit a little bit too. He walked him.
Yeah, you referenced it earlier that the last time both teams have hit their pitcher in the 8-hole was 2008. This is the 12th time it's happened. All 11 times previously was in 2008, and they all involved Tony La Russa's Cardinals. And Maddon said he talked to Tony about it before he started to implement it. Weiss has a history with Tony La Russa, played for Tony in Oakland.
So Arenado and Rosario are in guarding against a possible bunt, but I'm not sure he's going to do it.
No, and I think that's the conversation that Joe Maddon had with Travis before he went to home plate. So at least take a pitch or 2 and see if you can put a good swing on one. If there's nobody out, he's probably bunting. With 1 out already in the inning, as good as he is with the bat, I like letting him swing, especially in this ballpark.
Native's a little restless, as Matzik has been pretty wild here in this inning. The 2-0 on the way. Ooh, it was a 3-run homer swing that didn't connect.
And it looked like a little slider. That's, you get respect if you're a pitcher up there in the batter's box and you get something other than a straight fastball on 2-0.
And 2-2.
And may just be Hundley recognizing that Matzik's best chance to throw a strike right now may be with that slider.
Just missed outside. He tried a backdoor slider that time.
Just can't bring that ball all the way back to the outside corner.
Bolt at second. Castillo at first. Cubs trying to get on the board first today. Runners not going on a 3-2, and this one is golfed down the right field line. It's going to land foul.
Hey, Cub fans, let's go. The 2015 Cubs look to make some noise at Wrigley Field. The Cubs return this Monday for a series with the Reds, and then the Padres come to town over the weekend. Tickets are still available for each and every ball game. Get your tickets at Cubs.com. And that man, John Lester, will be pitching on Monday.
He should make 2 starts next week on the homestand. Another 3-2 and another fly ball, shallow right. And it's Gonzalez, former Gold Glover, over in left. You may have said it earlier. Basically, ideally playing with center fielders at all the spots in the outfield here. That's really the case with the Rockies.
Yeah, hard to. Geez, wake up out there. What was that yawning? Is that Dickerson? These guys are so good, they're bored.
No, they're not bored. It's a lack of oxygen to the brain. That's why you yawn, right? Here's Alcantara, switch batter, hitting right-handed, and low for ball 1.
But yeah, speed premium defensively here. You need, obviously, you need a lot of good athletes on any Major League Baseball team, but especially here. It's kind of hard to carry that big lumbering left fielder.
You'd really like to take advantage of some wildness by Matzik here in this inning and cash in. Cubs have been ahead in the count just about every at bat. Three and 0.
Yeah, and for the most part, he's been able to get away with it because he hasn't really been wild in the strike zone yet. He hasn't just thrown the ball right over the heart of the plate. He's a little defensive. You watch him pitch and you would think, well, he's not trusting his stuff right now. Maybe a little extra nerves working. That would be understandable. A very young pitcher on a big day here, the home opener.
And they're loaded. So these first 2 innings, he has hit a batter, thrown a pitch behind a hitter, and walked 2. Steve Foster, the pitching coach, out to the mound.
Now, having said all that, does that mean Dexter Fowler should go up there in a passive mindset? I would argue no. Be ready to hit that cookie if he does make a mistake right over the heart of the plate.
Hey, Cub fans, make sure you check out Len and JD's baseball blog at WGNTV.com. Sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your nationwide insurance agent serving the area for 37 years. To join the nation, contact Jeff at jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Fowler grounded out to start the game. Better statistically in his career right-handed than left. And he takes a strike. Matzik's 0-1, blocked by Hundley.
.270 average while playing for the Rockies 2008 through 2013. Just under 300 here in this ballpark.
Right to LeMahieu and down to a knee. Tulowitzki covering second. They force Alcantara. The Cubs leave him loaded. Tomorrow, day game, 3 o'clock Central on Sunday here on WGN, and then back home to play the Reds and the Padres. Ford, America's best-selling brand, inviting you to go further in our fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out our entire lineup at your Ford store or localfordstores.com. Strike called on Drew Stubbs, former teammates with the Reds. Matching up here.
We just missed by one day a Kyle Hendricks versus Kyle Kendrick matchup.
Well, that would have been fun.
I'd have butchered that. Instead, it'll be Jason Hamill tomorrow against Kyle Kendrick. He was the opening day starter for the Rockies over in Milwaukee. And then Kyle Hendricks and Jordan Lyles will do the pitching here on Sunday.
1-1. Stubbs chased a high one. 5 for 12 against Travis Wood. There's the former Rocky Jason Hamill. His first start was supposed to be Wednesday. Instead, it'll be Saturday. It's been that kind of week. Well, it's foul.
Stubbs swings and misses a lot. He strikes out a lot. He's got speed. He's got power. He's got a lot of tools. Ahead of him in the count as Wood is. You could probably finish him off out of the strike zone. He's throwing right down the middle.
And he won't swing. Let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. The Johnson family from Canton, Illinois, here today, celebrating a big birthday. Andrew, Stephanie, Riley, and Morgan in the ballpark. Breaking ball outside on Nick Hundley. Not related to former Cubs Randy and Todd.
Only in the fraternity of the hind catchers, the mask wearing union.
Wood with a 1-1, and I think he went. He did. There has been a push after the Torrey Hunter Joe West dispute the other day among some in the media to have the base umpires call check swings, and I would be all for it, with the idea being that a home plate umpire has a hard time seeing the ball hit the mitt and figuring out if a batter swung at it. I'm kind of on that train. Swing and a miss, strike 3.
Yeah, and if I were a home plate umpire, I would be in favor of it too. Why not just defer to one of the guys down the line, let them make the call for you. So on Friday next, that would be the 17th, with the Reds in town. It's the first 121st pitch, and the first 10,000 fans at the ballpark will receive a Cubs winter aviator hat presented by Pepsi. For more information or to purchase tickets, visit Cubs.com.
Matzik, a career .214 batter in the minors, hit a .184 in the big leagues last year. Golfs one the other way. Caesar going back on it, twisting, and can't make the play. It deflects off the leather, and Matzik is in at second. With either a double or a two-base error, probably a double, considering Matt had to leave his feet. Although that's a ball that probably should be caught.
Yeah, one off the bat, we anticipated being caught. He just gets twisted around the wrong way a little bit. He drops the head on that inside fastball. Inside out swing. He's probably got a little funky spin on it. Caesar was shortened up for him, as you would anticipate. You see, he has to kind of make that late adjustment in his route. He can't haul it in.
So he's at second for the number 9 hitter, DJ LeMahieu, 5 for 13 in that Milwaukee series. Received his Gold Glove trophy before the ball game. Below average offensive player, but a fantastic defender. The former Cub has found himself a home here in the Rockies lineup. Happy 90th birthday wishes go out to Norman Sherman from your son Ben and daughter-in-law Karen. Hope it was a good one, Norman. Line drive, base hit. Matzik will be set. Fowler dropped the ball, so there will be no play on Matzik, who scores standing, and it's 1-0 Rockies.
Matt Caesar pulling hard for Travis Wood to bail him out there and get that final out of the inning, but it did not happen as LeMahieu hits a rocket up the middle. It's been some hard hit balls here by the Rockies in the first couple innings of this ball game. Travis able to work around it in the first, and ironically, in an inning that starts strikeout, the Rockies break through. Charlie Brown's him, and if Fowler comes up with a clean lead, he might have a shot at Matzik.
No error because Matzik was going to be sent either way. So it's an RBI single for LeMahieu. Dickerson waves a strike one. All right, for those watching, paying attention, if you may be having a beverage this weekend with your friends and you want to impress them, you can ask this trivia question or have somebody ask it of you. Who led the Rockies in home runs last year?
I'm going to go with Corey Dickerson.
You are correct, sir. Rockies get on the board first. It's 1-0 after 2. First run of the ball game, Joe Madden talked about Walt Weiss, quote, copying him in terms of the pitcher batting eighth today.
Copy Tony, you know. Our whole lives are one big plagiaristic moment. It's how we decipher the information and utilize it ourselves that makes us all unique. So it's really hard to have one really unique thought these days that hasn't been attempted before us. So I talked to Tony a lot about it before I did it with the Rays versus the Dodgers a couple years ago. And now that I'm a National Leaguer, I've thought about it in more depth. And I kept saying the primary benefit I'm seeing right now is a second leadoff hitter permitting a really more prolific hitter to hit in the two-hole.
Jorge Soler just had his bat shattered, but he picks up a base hit out of it to lead off the Cubs' third.
I just have a feeling he's going to hit a 420-foot line drive before the weekend is over here in this ballpark. That time he shatters his bat, but it dies a hero. So Matzik, who struggled with his control last inning, probably told himself, go out there, throw strike one, get on top of these hitters. Boom, leadoff knock.
Now Rizzo, who was hit by a pitch in the first inning, takes ball one. Yeah, I don't think Walt Weiss was copying Joe at all. Joe said, hey, I copied Tony La Russa. You mentioned Walt. He played for Tony. I think he's doing it for different reasons than Joe is.
Well, I think what happened when Tony started doing it, other people played around with it a little bit. And so it's been in the conversation for a while around Major League Baseball. And the front office is now being staffed with a lot of really smart analytical people. They're digging into these numbers, and I think it's specific to each club whether you have the right personnel to make it work, or at least I think it's still very much an experiment. Play with it, see what you think.
Yep. He got hit again.
Well, he's going to get hit a bunch.
Yeah, he stands on top of the plate, and the Cubs now in business with 2 on and nobody out.
He's 32 bombs last year. He's one of the best hitters in baseball, and pitchers are going to cry. Now this is an instance of a breaking ball. He didn't finish. First time he got drilled by a fastball. This time the breaking ball brushes him on the way by.
Now we've seen Anthony actually swing and miss at pitches that have hit him. Those are strikes. Got to be leading the league, right? 3 hit by pitches, 3 games.
A heck of a pace.
He got hit 15 times last year. So now Castro takes a strike. So to borrow the hockey analogy, since we saw the Blackhawks in the ballpark, the Cubs kind of on the power play here. First and second, nobody out. Let's see if they can convert. It's low. Matzek's trying to get a ground ball at one of his Gold Glove infielders. Joel's saying you get a 5-on-3, you got to score. He's talking hockey or baseball.
Probably saying, well, I can't wait to get Patrick Kane back. We need to put a few more pucks in the back of the net.
Bloop single by Soler to start the inning. Rizzo got hit. And the 2-1 on the way to Castro is feathered in the air, foul out of play.
On that front foot, looked like he was trying to cheat on a fastball. Matzek came with a 85-mile-an-hour slider, starting just a little bit out of whack. Starlin, 300-plus hitter in this ballpark over the years, and you figure if he played all of his home games here, he'd really tear it up.
Little blooper off the glove of LeMahieu. Everybody's going to be safe, and the bases are loaded. Soler and Rizzo could not advance until they were sure that ball was going to get down, and there was no infield fly rule either, which was the right call.
Right, unless the guy's comfortably underneath the ball, the umpire can't rule an automatic out infield fly there. Time now for the speed replay, brought to you by Xfinity, and just a little lob wedge by Castro, and the bases are loaded. Tough break for Matzek. It's a very difficult read for Rizzo because he can't wander too far off there for fear of being doubled off if LeMahieu catches that ball. And if DJ were able to get that ball immediately after it kicked off his glove, he might have had a play on Rizzo at second base. Speed replay brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports.
Strike called on Mike Olt. Single in the second and ended up stranded at third. Coach left him loaded.
Yeah, broken bat, hit batter, and a bloop single here.
He went 0-2.
These are the times where young hitters really try to stay calm. You know, don't let the moment get the best of you. Bases juiced, trying to do something big. Got to get a pitch you can handle.
On the ground to third, backhanded by Arenado. Throw to the plate, out there. So Soler is forced. Bases still loaded. And one away for Matt Caesar. Arenado might have had an option of trying to turn two, but that was kind of a tricky bounce.
Yeah, sure. Well, he's got such good hands. It was a very difficult hop.
Caesar flied to the warning track. His first time up. If he does that again here, he'll tie the game. Rizzo now at third, Castro at second, Alt at first, and outside ball one. The thing for Matt, when you come up through the system, you finally make your debut last year, you get a little bit comfortable at this level, you go back home, make some adjustments, have a huge spring, and he walks around with more confidence as a quote big league player. He knows he's a big leaguer, and he's trying to stay here, and it's 3-0 with the bases loaded.
Yeah, it takes a while sometimes to just be around the big league scene before you feel comfortable.
That's why that first call up is huge. Big spot here. The 3-0 on the way. He takes it all the way, and it's 3-1. Dickerson drifting back, so Rizzo's going to be able to score easily. Right on the edge of the track. Throw goes toward third. Castro advances. So does Alt. In fact, all three guys able to tag up in this big ballpark. It's a sac fly, and it's 1-1.
After leaving the bases loaded last inning, obviously can't afford to have that happen here without scoring. You're hoping for a big inning, but Caesar does a nice job getting that ball airborne and getting the Cubs on the board.
A couple of more RBI opportunities. Castillo, I think, broke his bat as he hits a towering fly to Stubbs in center. Cubs manufacture a run and tie it at 1.
Cub fans, show your Cubby pride with Cubs checking and an official Cubs MasterCard debit card only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/Cubs to learn more. Member FDIC.
Matt Caesar with a game-tying sac fly, 1-1. As the Rockies bat here in the bottom of the third. Tulowitzki, Arenado, and Gonzalez against Travis Wood. Congrats to Cubs Vice President of Sales and Partnerships and a Boulder, Colorado native, Colin Faulkner. Honored by the Sports Business Journal. He's among the 40 under 40 group in 2015. Honored earlier this week. Maybe you'll be 50 over 50.
When's that come out?
I don't know.
Congratulations, Colin.
Yeah.
That's good stuff, man.
1-2 on Tulowitzki. So Jeff Sullivan from Fangraphs did a little study on pitch selection here in this ballpark. I will tweet a link to it from @Len Casper if you want to read all the gory math. Swing and a miss, strike 3.
Funky at bat by Tulowitzki. Went up there, hacking, chased that first high fastball, and then kind of a late swing here. Late pass at that fastball. Appears to be seeing it all that well in that AB. Good work by Wood here to get the third inning started. So what's the
what's the bottom line?
What's the end game here for Sullivan?
The Rockies seem to pitch the same way on the road as they do at home. That's number one. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot of difference. Visiting pitching staffs, that ball lined out toward the gap. Soler's got to cut it off, and he does. Arenado trying to make second. Might be a play. Out at second. Wow.
Beware if you try to run on the strong right arm of Jorge Soler. Not a bad baseball play by Arenado to try to get to second base, but next time he'll think twice. And Mazda replay. Soler hustle over, cut it off, and then turn it loose. Tag applied by Castro up around the shoulder or head.
The Rockies are checking out their video to see, and Walt Weiss is not going to challenge.
Yeah, that was a good look at it there. Got him on the helmet before he was able to get the bag.
So that is a 9-6 put out after the single by Arenado. Gonzalez.
Yeah, Soler's one of those guys when you're pitching, a lot of times you know, normally you don't want guys taking extra bases on you, but when it's hit out in Soler's direction, you're thinking, go for it. Especially if you're scuffling a little bit.
So to finish the thought on pitching here, opposing teams tend to use their breaking stuff a little more than the Rockies staff does. And so one theory is good fastball, good changeup. If you stick to kind of that formula, you might have good success. And you mentioned Jorge De La Rosa, who's had success in this park, and that's the kind of pitcher he is.
So opposing teams use their breaking balls more than the Rockies do, but do they use their breaking pitches more than they normally do?
I don't know the answer.
Because that's kind of always been the thinking in coming to the light air here, is that the breaking ball just doesn't bite. So you would think guys would use it less than they normally do. I believe it was Jeff that also had an article, an intriguing article about the Rockies and how they should handle their pitching staff here. And he argues for trying to find ways to get the guys who have had success in this ballpark, you know, more home starts, giving them extra days off on the road, bringing guys up from the minor leagues to fill in here and there. So a guy like De La Rosa might end up making, you know, not 2/3, that might be too big of a number, but 55% of his starts here as opposed to on the road. If he could do it.
Right. Popped up by Gonzalez. Caught in foul territory by Olt. We're 1-1 after 3. Budweiser still brewed the hard way. This Bud's for you. Pitcher against pitcher. Matzik to Wood, and it's low. Rockies with a run in the second. Cubs answered in the third. Finish up the Fangraphs beats. What Sullivan looked at is opposing pitchers facing Rockies hitters here and in their home ballpark, and there's about a 3% difference in terms of breaking balls. They throw the breaking ball more often here against Tulowitzki and company than they do elsewhere, which is very odd.
That's surprising, yeah.
Anyway, I tweeted the link if you want to check it out. Two on Travis Wood. Got a happy 99th birthday to pass along. Ruth Schramm, happy birthday. His son Keith works at the ballpark. Takes care of us up in the press box. Happy 99th to Ruth. Swing and a miss. Strike 3.
This is appropriate. The Newborn Fan Club is the perfect gift to showcase what it means to be a Cub for life. Receive a customized photo of the Wrigley Field marquee, Cubs birth certificate, baby stocking cap, and a Rookie of the Year onesie. Visit Cubs.com today.
Cornermen move in against Alcantara. And a slider catches the outside corner from Matzik.
It wouldn't be a bad idea to push a bunt towards Rosario down there and just see what he's got defensively. He made a handful of starts at first base in his career. Guy down there, Arenado. I want to try him that frequently. He's one of the best in the business.
One and two. Matzik's from Mission Viejo, California. That's Southern California. Orange County, in fact. Swing and a miss. Back-to-back Ks. For Matzik, it gives him 4 on the day. And 2 outs.
De La Rosa injured. Chassin was released. That kind of opened the door for Matzik to be in this rotation at the start of the year. He pitched well for the Rockies late last year. He had a 1.69 ERA in September and 4 starts. He was called up in June, made his major league debut. He had a complete game shutout along the way.
Two 2-0 on Fowler, the former Rocky. Grounding ball to Tulowitzki. Slings it across. Easy 1-2-3 for Matzik. 1-1 in the 4th.
Fourth upcoming. Host your best customers and guests in a private suite at Wrigley Field. The Nuveen Investment Suites can accommodate anywhere from 15 to 55 guests, include food, all you can drink beverages, and parking. To book your premier experience at the ballpark, visit Cubs.com/suites.
Rosario went after the high pitch.
As Tulowitzki did to start the last inning. Hitters looking to ambush a first pitch fastball from Wood, but they're chasing pitches out of the zone. There you go. Had difficulty at times getting that cutter in on the right-handed hitters last year. Right-handed batters hit just under 300 against Travis. That was a real big difference between last year and his all-star season of 2013.
Stubbs on deck, 2 balls and a strike. Here it is, 3-1.
You know, there's all these cliches about baseball, but it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. See, Rosario, he had one at bat, hit a game-winning home run. We've been tempted to just quit right there. I mean, he peaked. You can't get any better.
So you should have just retired.
Just shut her down right there. It's like going out to play a round of golf and making a hole-in-one on the very first hole. I'm done.
I guess another way to look at it is you could say, well, that's a good omen. I'm going to have a good season.
That would be the more rational way to look at it.
Soler and right. for the out.
I've talked to some hitters who, they don't like to think about those things. They don't want to deal with the numbers. But I've talked to other guys who are like, if I get off to a good start and I'm hitting 380 in May, I know I'm not going to hit 380. I know there's a lot of bad things to come. The game will get inside your head and just mess with you.
Well, if you believe in the yin and yang of life, you do kind of wonder if you have a great spring. Well, how about Jake Arrieta? He felt terrible in the bullpen the other day and pitched brilliantly. You just never know. Chris Bosio, Cubs pitching coach, when he threw his no-hitter with the Mariners, said he was throwing up all day.
Sicker than a dog, yeah.
So usually when things line up perfectly, that means bad things for a lot of guys in this game, vice versa.
Yeah, a lot of times when you don't feel that well physically, it just forces you to focus that much more.
Jake with that big performance as the Cubs were able to earn a split against their big rivals.
Yeah, and I think Arrieta, he's still going to sneak up on some people. As good as he was last year, I think there's this mindset of, well, let's see if he can do it again. But for me, there was enough. It was 25 starts last year. And, he threw 156 or so innings. So he didn't qualify among the league leaders. So a lot of people, his name doesn't show up when you scan those leaderboards.
Called strike 3.
So I don't think a lot of people realize how good he was last year.
No, I'm with you.
Doesn't have the resume yet of some of the elite pitchers in the league, but when you just look at last year's performance, I mean, he was right there with Kershaw and Cueto and that bunch.
Yeah, and the difference is what you said. You just want to see him do it again.
Mm-hmm. For me, he did it in such a convincing fashion. I'm really bullish on him. When I saw what he did last year, I said, my goodness.
Fowler going back near the 415 marker, but he's got plenty of room. Hey, about 4 feet of room. But he's played here a lot. He knew it was going to stay in. 1-1. Third bank, the Curious Bank. 1-1 tie through 4. Hey, thanks to everybody who came out Wednesday night to Union Station to show their support for Cubs charities. The 5th annual Bricks and Ivy Ball collected more than $1.35 million to support Cubs charities programs. Fun night.
Yeah, I hope you don't mind. I was bidding with your card. You may get
As
a
long
bill.
as
You
your
may get
credit card is attached,
you may get a bill here pretty soon.
Okay.
I'll be thinking of you when I'm over in Italy. Having a nice vacation with 10 of my favorite friends. 2-0. Maybe this will be my 420-foot line drive.
Well, he
won a challenge.
Nope.
Yeah, so when I was a kid, well, not a kid, but maybe in high school watching baseball, Lee May, I used to watch Lee May hit. For some reason, he always looked like he was just going to crush the ball when he stood in there. I get that vibe with Soler.
Yeah, he looks hitterish all the time.
Yeah. And he's so quick, and he has such good plate discipline.
So a leadoff freebie.
So Rizzo's been hit by a fastball, hit by a break. I think he should try to get hit by a changeup here, so he can have a hit by pitch for the cycle. Maybe a curveball. Get all 4. Matzik doesn't know where to go now because Rizzo has such good plate coverage. He's hit him twice. He doesn't want to hit him again. But if he leaves anything on the outer third, even out towards that outside corner, it's a very get-toolable pitch for Rizzo because he's so close to the plate.
Christian Bergman up in the Rockies pen, low and outside. So what would we call it? The cycle of plunkings?
Rizzo's big year last year was the good work he did against left-handed pitching. Matzik was tough on left-handed hitters last year. They hit just 147 against him.
The first strike of the inning, and it was barely one.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. The ball looked like it was off the plate as well.
Usually guys can't get that call when they've thrown 6 straight balls.
I mean, maybe he got a call because it was better than the previous 2. Walcott, the home plate umpire, maybe fooled a little bit. When Walcott, the home plate umpire, pretty young. He ejected Joe Madden last year. He's only ejected 4 guys in his career. Yeah, Joe as a first base umpire last year on a check swing call.
Kick the 3-1 and Rizzo down to a knee as he missed it.
Looking for a fastball there. Tried to get the head out in front of a fastball. Matzik came back with a pretty good slider. This one on the plate at 84. Had him out in front.
2 on the way, line drive into right. Soler takes a look. He's going to stop at second. 2 on, nobody out.
A clean 4th for Matzik, a 1-2-3 inning with a couple of strikeouts, but he's had a ton of baseballs to contend with this afternoon. And here we go again. Cubs first and second, nobody out. Rizzo, look how quiet the legs were there on 3-2. Got fooled by the 3-1 pitch, but he stayed back nicely there on 3-2 and delivered the solid line drive single.
That's going to be it. It's going to be a double switch. I assume Berkman will be the guy along with Charlie Blackmon, who will come in to play center. We'll be back. Cubs threatening 1-1.
outlet for all MLB authenticated game used and autographed Cubs memorabilia. Visit Cubs.com/authentics to bid on weekly auction items, including MLB authenticated game used baseballs, jerseys, bases, and so much more. For more information, call 773-404-4753. All net proceeds of Cubs Authentics benefit Cubs charities.
It's Charlie Blackmon. He's in for Stubbs, and he's going to hit 8. So he will lead off the bottom of this 5th inning. For the Rockies, Cubs made Tyler Matzik work. Bloated that pitch count up into the mid-80s. He only got 4 innings out of him. So here's Berkman, and it's up to the Rockies bullpen the rest of the afternoon.
16 2/3 innings in the spring, 20 hits allowed, a 5.40 ERA. He made 10 starts for the Rockies last year, was 3-5 with a 5.93. 4-pitch mix, fastball, slider, curve, and change. Low average in terms of velocity.
An outside ball 1. This is the type of day, it's subtle, right? But it's what we've talked about with adding some guys who get deep into counts. And obviously Matzik wasn't particularly sharp today, but the Cubs made him throw a lot of pitches.
Yeah, and I think Walt Weiss probably felt like he was just kind of walking that high wire all afternoon here, and sooner or later he was going to make a big mistake with a couple men on base. It's tough to stay with a guy who's thrown more balls than strikes in a game, especially a young guy.
Missed again. 3-0 on Castro. And 3-1. The other question Joe Madden may have to answer at some point. I see Miguel Montero has his shin guards on in the dugout. You got a lot of righties coming up here in this inning. He wants to use a pinch hitter at some point. Full count, 3-2.
Boy, yeah.
Really break it open.
That one back. 3-1. Fastball didn't have a whole lot on it right there for him. Just pulled off it a little bit.
I think Joe will not be afraid to pull strings here in the middle innings, and I think that's going to be a trend around baseball with all the dominating bullpens. 3-2, double play ball. 6-4-3. Well, they say just what the doctor ordered for a pitcher, but I guess it's the opposite for Castro. It's just what the doctor said to avoid.
Yeah, that's not good for you right there. Boy, you couldn't ask for an easier double play ball. 2 hopper. Right at him.
So Soler now at third. Here's Olt. And he takes a strike. Ton of traffic on the bases today for the visitors, but only 1 run to this point.
Yeah, to continue with the hockey metaphor with all the Blackhawks we have here today, that the puck possession has been in favor of the Cubs. They've had plenty of opportunities. Hawks in the Avalanche tomorrow night, right?
Yep. Just missed. The Rockies defenders thought it was strike 3 as they took a half step toward their dugout.
Good location, and then a fastball just off the outside corner. Holt stays alive.
Another close one.
Walking off on that one too. Let's take a look at our Xfinity pitch tracks. Yeah, good pitch.
Let's see if Mike can take advantage of new life. Nope, not really. As he hits it to Arenado. Promising start. Bad finish to the inning. By the way, Hawks and Avs tomorrow night at 8 right here on WGN. 1-1.
Are you in charge of planning your next social gathering for the office or friends? Bring your group to Wrigley Field and enjoy special perks only available inside the ballpark. The Cubs offer special ticket packages for groups of 15 or more. Call the group sales office and speak directly with your dedicated executive at 773-404-4242 or visit Cubs.com/groups.
That was a shot of the fans in the bleachers last year waving at JD.
I would have waved back, but I was reading.
Charlie Blackmon was an all-star last year via the player vote in his first full season in the major leagues. He'll get out of play. One of the few Rockies who didn't do a ton in that Milwaukee series and went 2 for 14. Other day action, some other home openers around baseball. Try to update you on some scores here. Twins leading the White Sox 1-0 in the top of the 5th. Both teams looking for their first win of the season later tonight. Same deal in Milwaukee. 0-3 Pirates and the 0-3 Brewers.
Wood thought he had Blackmon struck out. A bit off the plate. Good try though.
2-2 on the way, and that's a spoiler by Blackmon. Count holding. Blue Jays pounding the Orioles 11-4 at Camden Yards.
Got Bud Norris for 8 runs.
In the 9th inning there. Wide for a ball.
See where Derek Holland had to leave his start with the Rangers in the first inning. Yeah, that club was just cursed.
3-2. He got him on a high one.
Travis doesn't light up the radar gun, but he can work effectively up in the strike zone with his fastball. He's got deceptive action, short arm, quick arm. And he's gotten some swings at high fastballs here this afternoon by these Rocky hitters. A little greedy. His 5th strikeout on the afternoon.
Side on LeMahieu. So the Blue Jays already a new closer, huh? Well, they got rid of the old closer after what, 2 games? Brett Cecil.
Brett Cecil's out as closer.
Jeez. Former Cub Jason Marquis will start tonight for the Reds against one of his former teams, the St. Louis Cardinals. It'll be his first major league start in 2 years.
You got to be careful as a manager when you do something like that early in the year. It sends a signal to your clubhouse, and maybe you're panicking a little bit. And it's a defensible move if his stuff just isn't good. If he doesn't look right out there on the mound, if it's just based on blowing a save or two, I don't know if I buy it. But if he just doesn't look right throwing the ball,
right. 3-1 amidst pitching injury issues. Verlander, Nathan, and so on. The Tigers just keep cruising. They're leading the Indians in their home opener 5-0 in the 5th. Detroit trying to improve to 4-0 to start the year. 3-2 on LeMahieu. It's Corey Dickerson on deck. Cubs will have a home and home against Detroit this year, and Cleveland as well. Soler ran into the sidewall. Hope he's all right. I worry more about the wall than him, though, usually. Let's step aside and see what's coming up. Maybe not. We'll wait. Check that. That's my first check that of the regular season.
Yeah. Step aside later.
Down into center for a base hit. LeMahieu's 2 for 2. Okay, you ready to step aside?
Let's step aside.
Step aside, my friends. I've been doing it for years. And let's find out what's coming up on WGN. Tie. Rockies starting their season 3-0. Cubs playing their first road game.
Rockies did everything right in Milwaukee. 20 runs, outscored them 20-6. The pitching was really good. They didn't commit an error.
As I mentioned, Dickerson led the Rockies with 24 homers last year. The one thing he's done today is pretty much exactly what he does with his unique swing. Dickerson hits the ball the other way a lot. And Fangraphs did another piece, and I think it was Jeff Sullivan, got on this Rockies Coors Field kick. He hits one of the highest percentages of ground balls to the opposite side of the field, about 20%. That doesn't sound like a lot, but it is
a lot because the guys rarely hit the ball on the ground the other way. They hit the ball in the air to the opposite field, but rarely on the ground.
So you will not see exaggerated pull shifts on the infield against Corey Dickerson. If you do, they're thinking of the wrong guy.
And it's funny, when you think about a left-handed hitter who hits the ball on the ground to the left side of the infield, you would think, well, that's kind of a slap hitter, punch and Judy, hit it on the ground and run fast out of the box. But this guy hits for power, so that's really a rare combination.
He walked him. first free pass issued by Travis Wood.
And that's why a lot of folks around here think Dickerson's going to have a real big year, because he's starting to show a little more discipline at the plate too.
So an interesting streak was snapped earlier this week. The Rockies had a streak of 8 different double play partners on opening day for Troy Tulowitzki. That streak is over. Swing and a miss, because DJ LeMahieu started on opening day for the 2nd straight year. How many of the second basemen over the last 9 years can you name? Well, there's one.
Jonathan Herrera? Is he one of them?
Nope.
Rats.
I'll name them all, and you go, oh, of course. Line fair. LeMahieu's going to score. Dickerson's going to be set by Stu Cole, and he's going to score. And Troy Tulowitzki has given the Rockies a 3-1 lead. 2-run double.
Mayhew in the 9-hole. Tulowitzki batting second today pays off for Walt Weiss. Tulowitzki ends up with a 2-run double. Pitch up. Leonard High moving in on him. He was attacking that high fastball last time up. This time it's a little cutter. He gets the head out in front of it. This is Stu Cole. He's got a good look at the play, going all the way into the left field corner for Matt Caesar, so he keeps that arm cranking. And Cubs regretting the fact that they've left so many on base right now.
They will intentionally walk Arenado after Gonzalez. Kaz Matsui, Jason Nix, Ian Stewart, Clint Barnes, Jose Lopez, Marco Scutaro, Josh Rutledge, and then DJ LeMahieu.
Wow, I'm really not kicking myself for not. Barmes I should have gotten.
There's ball 4. Comes Chris Bosio before Gonzalez bats. It's Jason Mott up in the Cubs pen.
Talk, about the quality start, the validity of that statistic. But you get 6 innings of 3-run ball in this ballpark, you take that any day.
I would think. Yeah.
Travis working here in the 5th, but if you go to a manager of any club before the game and play that, let's make a deal thing. You take 6 innings and 3 runs allowed by your starter, or what's behind the curtain. They'll say, Give me the sure thing.
We're just trying to keep this one close, and a cut and a miss by Gonzalez. Both he and Tulowitzki have hit for the cycle in this ballpark against the Cubs, and Gonzalez completed his with a game-ending home run in the bottom of the 9th back in 2010. That year he won the batting title, 336.
Rockies have won 9 batting titles since beginning play here in 1993. Justin Morneau won it last year, winning 319.
7 Rockies have won 9 titles in all.
Started playing 1993, and that's obviously the Coors Field effect skews that big time. I'd say not to take away from what these guys have accomplished, but I am taking away from what they've accomplished.
Well,
a lot of it has to do with their own ballpark.
It shouldn't. I wonder how it'll affect Todd Helton's Hall of Fame candidacy. Fly ball to center. Fowler. And the runner's holding. And that will be it for Travis Wood. Joe Madden has already made the call.
Yeah, I think with Joe decided there he'd rather try to get Gonzalez and Rosario versus Arenado and Gonzalez, knowing that he had Mott for Rosario, or perhaps going to force Walt Weiss's hand here to make a move.
So 3-1 Rockies in the fifth, and we'll be back. Fan cam with the Sonics. See the Great House Boys from Valparaiso as part of our selfies on the fan cam. That's the Sonics with their great 1965 hit, and they are back together. They just put out a new record. Here's Jason Mott, runner at second, 3-1 Rockies as he faces Rosario. The pitch fouled into the third deck.
And saw by those numbers, it was not a particularly good spring for Jason Mott. He worked on opening night, pitched a scoreless inning. Fastball, cutter are his primary weapons. He'll throw an occasional changeup. Fastball sits comfortably in that 94, 95 mile an hour range.
Past Mott, but right to Alcantara, and they force a runner at second, and that'll end the inning. Rockies get 2 and lead 3-1 after 5. Summary, former Cub DJ LeMahieu with a couple of hits, knocked in a run and scored one. Troy Tulowitzki healthy to start the year, and he already has 8 hits in their first 4 games. Honda Dream Garage Sales Event now at your Honda dealer. Still a long way to go today. Brooks Brown, a right-hander, is on. With Justin Morneau, you can see behind that graphic, now playing first.
And Brown with a solid spring for the Rockies, pitching to a 1.46 ERA. Originally was drafted by the Diamondbacks. It was a supplemental pick after the first round in the June 2006 draft. And things didn't really pan out for him over there. Spent minor league time with the Tigers and the Pirates. And pitched 28 times for the Rockies last year, all in relief. Did a nice job. With a 2.77 earned run average.
Cubs down a couple. And a strike called on Matt Caesar. Looking later in the ball game, in case you're wondering who the Rockies closer is, well, it's former Cub and the oldest guy in the big leagues today, LaTroy Hawkins. 42 years old. Blew the save, got the win on Wednesday in Milwaukee. And Troy has said this will be his final big league season, year number 21. There's the Gary, Indiana native. Two and two. Castillo on deck. Congrats to Mark Burley. He got his 200th career win today. And the Blue Jays 12-5 victory.
No closer needed.
The second starting pitcher to get his 200th win as a Blue Jay. First was Roger Clemens. Ball 4.
Managers a lot of times don't want to take risks in this ballpark. You just lay back and you play for big innings, but as you move into the later stages of the game, sometimes you have to be a little bit more willing to adopt a one-run strategy. Cubs are down 2, of course, but Caesar, a guy who could steal a base. Brown last year got a lot of outs on the ground, so you're always wary of the ground ball double play.
There goes Caesar, swing and a miss by Castillo. What do we have here? I didn't even look at second base, but we've got batter interference. Are they going to send Caesar back to first? I think they are. So, and that ends up being a do-over, I believe, right? No pitch, runner goes back to first. It's rare that this happens.
Yep. Yeah, because the swing came back through and got him. So it's not a case where Castillo fell across home plate and impeded with the catcher trying to make a throw.
It's kind of just inadvertent interference affecting that throw.
Yeah,
it's the right call.
It's one of the rare times in professional baseball where the call would be kind of like what you would do on the playground. Let's just do it over.
Caesar goes again, and this one is fouled off.
Yeah. But it literally did try to do it over. Caesar's certainly capable of a straight steal at second base here, but the Castillo, whether it's a hit and run player, if he's just opting not to take a pitch and hack, of course, down 1 strike, you're not taking a strike. First one was clearly a hit and run play.
Not going, and Castillo strikes out.
Good running action on a two-seam fastball at 94 miles an hour. Well off the plate, however.
Chris Coughlin's going to pinch hit for Mott.
I haven't seen a lot of it today, but the Rockies apparently are going to shift a little bit more this year. Last year they shifted less than anybody in the league.
Chris 1 for 6 to start the year. Rolling outside, ball 1.
Playing a double play depth here for Coughlin.
Caesar takes off. Pitch is taken. Throw is on the money, but late. Stolen base, Matt Caesar. That might be the first of his career. I'll have to double check.
Try again, and ultimately he gets second base. Strong one-hop throw.
And that is the first steal of his major league career. First official attempt.
Had 30 steals at AAA Iowa last year.
Hard on a bounce. Oh, what a snag on the backhand by LeMahieu. The Gold Glovers have each made a couple of tricky plays look pretty routine. 2 outs, runner at third now.
A good look here as LeMahieu breaks on contact. Goes to his hip, plays it on the backhand side. Pretty play.
Contra now batting lefty. Smothered by Hundley. Cloud cover is kind of taken over. Lights are not on. That bright sunshine we had at the beginning of the game has left us for the time being. Still comfortable. Temps in the low 60s. Wind not really a factor. Fly ball into center. Blackman under it, and the Cubs strand yet another. It is 3-1 Rockies in the 6th.
Watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in true HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details.
Here's Brian Schlitter, put on the roster today. Officially recalled from AAA Iowa to replace Justin Grimm, who went to the 15-day disabled list with right forearm inflammation.
Ryan worked 61 times for the Cubs last year. A 4.15 ERA. Throws a ton of fastballs, mostly two-seamers. Good sink. Gets a lot of ground balls, better than 3 ground balls for every fly ball last year.
First at bat today for Morneau. As we mentioned earlier, won the National League batting title last year. 319, the lowest average for an NL champ in a while. That ball crushed the other way. Caesar on the move, gone. An opposite field home run, Justin Morneau, and it's 4-1.
Ironic, given the Schlitter was so good last year keeping the ball out of the air. This time the two-seamer has run, but not a whole lot of sink. Just drives it the other way.
That is a first home run for or against the Cubs this season. Nothing left the yard in Chicago. A 2-game set against the Cardinals. One and one on Hundley.
Yeah, Schlitter allowed just 2 home runs last year and 56 in the 3rd innings. Joe Madden talking about playing here in Coors Field. They talked a little bit about during spring training too, with the conditions there. The ball jumps better here than it does in Arizona, but it really takes off there as well. He managed a couple years in Midland in the Texas League. So the ball really flew there. The infields were rock hard. And the strategy was to, it's kind of like football. You just want that last chance to kick that field goal to win the game. And the same thing here. You just hang on, keep it close. You feel like you have a chance late.
By Olt, and he got him. Had to do a little double take to make sure the ball was still in his glove.
I would think if you were to ask managers around the major leagues, certainly the National League guys that come here every year, their least favorite ballpark to manage in, it would probably be this one.
Yeah, I would agree.
I'm sure they love coming here. Great city, good looking ballpark. Just the nature of the game here takes a lot of the strategy out of it. Also, those one-run strategies don't apply till very late in the ball game here. You're never sure when to pull the plug on your starting pitcher. Fearful of burning through your bullpen in a 3-game series.
And then you always worry about the carryover effect after you leave him.
Right.
Balls, no strikes. one in there. Would we say there are more scruffy beards in the game today than ever before? It's an epidemic, I tell you.
Except for the House of David,
right?
We team back in the day.
Yeah, we referenced that last year, the year before, but
yeah. Well, there's always been this herd mentality in baseball.
Yeah.
So one guy, a couple guys grow the long beard.
Well, it's not just beards though. It's like Blackman and Schlitter. It looks like they haven't shaved in about 6 months.
It's a beard off.
Ball 4.
Maybe they're getting ready for the playoffs. Well, I suspect the Rockies will put somebody in motion. Well, not somebody. They'll put Blackman in motion because he's the base runner at first. Mayhew's hit the ball hard today. A couple of line drives. Solid shots up the middle.
By the way, the Morneau home run was the 1,500th career hit for the former American League MVP. It's 239th career home run. Runner going, and LeMahieu rolls it past Alcantara, who's going to cover the bag. And Blackman will head to third as that ball was bobbled by Fowler, but nobody advancing. After that little miscue.
Just real good execution there by LeMahieu, and you can kind of feel it coming. Schlitter being an extreme ground ball pitcher. LeMahieu dropped that front foot, and he's clearly thinking the other way. Blackman has to make a little adjustment in his route there as he gets to second base and trots on into third. LeMahieu having a big day against his former club, 3 out of 3.
After going 2 for 28 versus the Cubs last season. Dickerson.
Schlitter's pretty predictable. He throws a ton of fastballs. He's usually around the plate. That's what makes it even easier for a manager to put a play on like that. You feel like the guy's going to be able to make contact.
Rockies have started a year 4-0 one time. That was 1995. First year of this ballpark, in fact. They have a 4-1 lead and trying to add on. Effort to get to 4-0 this season.
A lot of different options here for Walt Weiss on 2-0. He could just turn Dickerson loose here. That's the most likely thing. You could even have him take a pitch with the idea of putting a hit and run play on 2 balls and 1 strike. He just obviously wants to tack on at least one more run in this inning. He's got Tulowitzki on deck, so he's thinking about staying out of a double play. back in the day before the rule change, where you try that fake to third, back to first look, just to see if you could get any kind of an indication that LeMahieu was thinking about running.
Yep. Don't recall the specific verbiage when they got rid of it, but I think essentially that move was considered to be deceiving the runner, right? Which is a balk.
Right. The balk, the whole nature of the balk rule is to prevent deception of the base runner. And that fake to third, back to first move was nothing but, a lot of times the third baseman wouldn't even be anywhere near the bag.
Pause by Schlitter, and now Dickerson asks for and is granted time by Quinn Walcott. Out in the left center. Blackman's going to score. LeMahieu on his way to third, and it's Dickerson to second. And he overslid the bag, and they got him. Nice job by Alcantara to hang in there and keep that tag on him for out number 2. Meanwhile, it's 5-1. As Dickerson will get an RBI out of it.
Yeah, boy, I think Dickerson, you talked earlier about his off-field approach. I think you got to pound him in. He likes to hit the ball the other way, and he hits it hard the other way. That ball drifting away from him plays to his strength. Good heads-up play by Alcantara out there at second base to hang on to that tag.
There's Basio to the mound. Let's see how this play ended.
And he beats the throw, but off the bag he comes, and Alcantara gets him. Good call. Who's that second base umpire today? Eric Cooper.
Nice job, Coop.
Do you know what a euphonium is?
What's that?
A euphonium?
A euphonium?
Euphonium?
No, what is it?
Like a horn of some sort. A home plate umpire played one in the high school band. He won a regional award for it. Quinn Walcott. I was doing some bumping around on the internet earlier. I was just kind of curious to see if I could find anything out about his strike zone. And Wikipedia mentioned that he was a euphonium player in high school.
Another at third, 2 outs, infield back. 2 insurance runs in.
Ooh, good pitch.
Tulowitzki gave the Rockies this latest lead with a 2-run double in the 5th.
Cubs still have 9 outs to play with, and in this ballpark, no lead is safe. Sooner or later, they're going to have to stop the Rockies from scoring. First pitch slider from Schlitter looked like a good one. I think that's the next phase for Brian. He's got a good arm. He's throwing 94, 95. He's got that good sinking action. Gain a little more confidence and a little more consistency with a secondary pitch or two. He'll really take a big step forward.
Dickerson credited with a single. Thrown out 8-4 at second base. Pitch to strike. It's 3-1. Chicago native Brian Schlitter. Tulowitzki asked for time. Will he get a letter? He walked out of the batter's box. So a note the other day that MLB is sending out letters now, warning guys to stay in the box.
And Tulowitzki usually takes a lot of time. You know, they're allowed after a swing and a miss or a foul off to step out of the box. He usually goes for a good long walk, readjusts the batting gloves.
Holt to his glove side. Strong throw, inning over. But the Rockies add 2 to their lead. It's 5-1 after 6. What Addison Russell and Chris Bryant did for the AAA Iowa Cubs. They dropped their season opener at Memphis. C.J. Edwards pitching out of the AA Smokies bullpen. Kyle Schwarber debuting there. Good to have the Myrtle Beach Pelicans and South Bend Cubs part of the system. Big day for Jacob Rogers and Cale Brockmeyer, who was impressive coming over from minor league camp at times during spring training. Hit a game-ending homer in the bottom of the 9th in front of a packed house in South Bend in a 2-1 win over Bowling Green. And a former teammate of yours, JD.
Oh yeah, Elrod.
John Elway. No, you were not a Broncos wide receiver, but you and John Elway played together in the minor leagues.
We were Oneonta Yankees together in the New York Penn League in 1982.
Swing and a miss.
Drafted by the Yankees, George Steinbrenner thought he could woo him away from football. So John got a nice little summer gig, a nice 6-figure bonus to better than mowing lawns for summer work. Went back, finished his football career the following fall. He could play, you know, in such great aptitude. He's good at everything he tries. He probably would have been a pretty good big league player, I'm guessing. Speed, power, great arm from the outfield. Baseball America that year rated him in the top 10 prospects in the Penn League. I can't remember exactly where.
Went on to a Hall of Fame football career. Now running the Broncos football department. Called strike 3. Fowler not too happy with the call. He's 0 for 4 in his first game in this ballpark in an opposing uniform.
Yeah, no doubt he wanted to come back here and make a lot of noise in his old ballpark. So far it hasn't worked out for him today. Made that nice play throwing Dickerson out at second last inning. Nothing good happening at home plate today for Dexter Fowler.
Soler has struck out, singled, and walked. Nailed a runner at second base defensively. Yeah, baseball and football have kind of matched up over the years, right? Elway, Jordan, Deion Sanders, Bo Jackson, Matt Caesar was a terrific college football player, Jeff Samardzija, Rick Leach. And many more. Caught by Blackman. With all the concussion issues, I have a feeling some guys now may choose baseball over football.
Good point. Yeah. A lot of parents will be steering their kids away from football.
So, I mean, for an elite guy, let's say a Jeff Samardzija, who probably would have been starting wide receiver somewhere, right? First round pick, second round pick, whatever. Would have got a big signing bonus. Would have been in the NFL right off the bat with probably a short career. Whereas baseball, there's no guarantee you're going to get to the big leagues. Now, he did get a good signing bonus. He was drafted in the 5th round. Eventually chose baseball. As Rizzo does the bunt, he did it a couple of times in St. Louis against the shift last year. You don't see him do it all that much, but why not down 4 runs late?
Yeah, and 2 outs in the inning. So the role changes from run producer to kind of igniter. And if they're going to give it to you, there are times when it makes perfect sense to take it. And then you'll just, you see how teams will if they'll adjust accordingly. If next time he's up, do they not play such an extreme shift, or do they just continue to give it to him?
By the way, I said Michael Jordan. He was a basketball player. I was thinking of two sports guys.
Yeah. Well, Brian Jordan.
Brian Jordan.
Yeah, that's who you're thinking of.
Brian Jordan, other mine. Yeah.
We just call him Brian.
Off the end of the bat, carrying a little bit. Actually, Blackman had to go back on it. There's a stretch here in Colorado. 5-1 Rockies.
it before. Baseball is this cruel way of answering questions for you and creating more time for people. It's real early in the season, so it could be a little bit more exaggerating for these particular guys. I get that, but the one thing we've talked about from day one is that it's about all of us. It's not just about one individual. I also believe by having this kind of awkwardly great situation is that it should make everybody more rested and healthy for playoff time this year. So in the beginning, it's always seems like it's bunched up and it bothers people. But when the season gets its rhythm, and
God bless America here before the bottom of the 7th. And we're going to see Edwin Jackson working with one of the Cubs' 3 catchers, Wellington Castillo. Look, there may be an injury around baseball of a starting catcher, and that team may come calling and see if the Cubs are willing to work with them. But I don't think the Cubs are in a hurry to alleviate some sort of issue with the roster. I think Joe really likes having 3 catchers.
I think it's one of those situations where start of the year you play with it, you see if you can find enough at bats to keep everybody in the mix, you see what kind of production you're getting from the position, you see if you have enough flexibility other places on your roster where you can make it work. You know, you don't want to be caught short where you're not covered at all the various positions on the field with extra players, but because of guys like Alcantara and La Stella, you do have a lot of flexibility. And Welly was so good against left-handed pitching, well, not just last year, but that's kind of been the norm for him in his career. He really fits as a platoon guy. Montero from the left side, Ross, the veteran with all his knowledge, the way he receives, he's a very good catcher. His relationship with Lester brings a lot of value to the table. Castillo against left-handed pitching brings a lot of value. Plus, he's young and under control. And, if one of those other guys were to be banged up, obviously he would take on a much bigger role. So I'm kind of curious to see how it's all going to shake out.
Speaking of curiosity, I think we're both curious to see how it goes for Edwin Jackson in a different role. And a role that really hasn't been quite defined yet. I guess the long man would be the easy way to put it. But I think mainly right now it's getting his confidence back. And let's see if he can maybe become that 2-pitch short relief guy that some people think he can be.
Yeah, well, he's in a tough situation now, and he's kind of the last guy in the pecking order out there in the bullpen. So he's not going to get regular work. But the only way to fix that is to open everybody's eyes with your performance. So you really have to take advantage of these chances. And obviously that's easier said than done, because sometimes for a guy in Edwin's situation, those chances are few and far between.
Arenado in the air to Fowler in center. Yeah, we were talking to Joe, and I asked him specifically today about Edwin. I said, if it goes a week and a half, 2 weeks, and he doesn't get in there, are you going to be concerned? And I loved his answer about the pen. If guys don't work enough, pitching coaches tend to get a little nervous. We got to get this guy an inning here. If guys work too much, you got to give guys days off. And Joe just said, well, let's just let the games play out. He said if your best pitchers are tired, that means you're winning. If you're not using them, it means you're losing.
Yeah, and ideally you'd like to have a deep enough bullpen where you didn't have that go-to situation where anytime I'm protecting the lead late, it's pitchers A, B, C in order, my 7th inning, 8th inning, 9th inning guy, but that's typically how teams tend to play it.
There is one underrated bit of value that Edwin can bring to the table in this particular role. And that is in games that may be out of reach. If he can give you 3 or 4 instead of 1 or 2.
Right, yeah, you need those multiple inning guys.
You can save the rest of the pen for the next day.
Yeah, and that's part of that job description. You know, usually when you think of the long man, it's when the starter gets knocked out early. You want that guy to come in and give you 2 or 3 innings to limit the workload for the rest of the bullpen.
The other thing that could play to his favor in this situation is that, you know, we keep hearing about Edwin maybe overthinking things, and as a starter kind of knowing exactly when you're going to pitch, that breeds overthinking and overanalysis. But in this role, you get your name called, you warm up, you go into the game.
Yeah,
as he strikes out Cargo.
There's not the level of game planning, obviously, for a reliever that there is for a starting pitcher. When we talked to Lester Strode about it in spring training, the way he approaches things with relievers down there in the bullpen, he's got that book with all the scouting reports. But he says, you know, I try to keep it simple. I try to give them 1 or 2 things to think about with the hitters that they're expected to face when they come into the ball game. And you're absolutely right. I think that could really help Edwin. The idea that he's not dwelling on it for 4 days prior to his start and then thinking about it and kind of rely on your instincts, just the adrenaline that comes with coming out of the bullpen.
This is Daniel Descalso, the former Cardinal, hitting for Brooks Brown. 2 scoreless innings for Brown after Bergman helped Matzik out in the 5th. Backhanded play, Alcantara. Jackson's 2015 debut. 3 up, 3 down. Struggling again with men in scoring position. The Cubs today 1 for 9. And what a story, a good comeback story for Rafael Betancourt. He's going to turn 40 on April the 29th. Tommy John surgery September 17th. 2013. So if you do the math, JD, he was in his late 30s. Looked like his career was over, but he's back in the big leagues. He's their former closer, and that's what he did in spring training.
Well, they got to have somebody who can hang out with LaTroy Hawkins.
Right.
And you can relate to LaTroy and sit around and talk about watching Friends back in the day. And What else was popular when they were young? It's been around a long time. Broke in with the Indians back in 2003.
One and one on Mike Holt. Outside corner on a fastball, well located.
Yeah, a little giddy up on that one too. 92 crossing the outside corner.
Struck him out.
I expected the Cubs to break out a little bit this weekend after a couple of tough days for the offense against St. Louis with Wrigley, cold conditions against frontline pitching. Certainly understandable. I thought perhaps they'd do a little bit more today so far, and even Matt's a kid struggled with his command early on. The Cubs just could not take advantage.
One and one. Pitching matchups for the rest of the weekend. Kyle Kendrick won on opening day against Jason Hamill, who will make his season debut. That's tomorrow night, and then Sunday afternoon the Cubs will have Kyle Hendricks, not Kyle Kendrick, against Jordan Lyles. Court takes his time between pitches. Might as well savor it, right? It's been a while. Mayhew. This is a Coors Field record. Ballpark that's been open for a couple of decades, but in the house, almost 51,000. Did they have like 83,000 at Mile High when they opened that place for baseball?
Put some big numbers in there, yeah. They used to draw big crowds for the AAA club there, the Denver Bears.
Ground ball to the shortstop, Tulowitzki, and he'll get Castillo. Betancourt with a 1-2-3-8. 5-1 Colorado lead. Jackson in his second inning of work. Cubs trailing 5-1. Week number 1, and the narrative's going to be Cubs can't hit with runners in scoring position. But I still feel like some patient at bats we've seen, and the fact that they've had chances, that those things tend to turn around. Cubs are not going to go 1 for 800 with runners in scoring position.
Not likely. No, I just
whatever they are, 2 for 30 or 2 for 40.
Yeah.
I mean, it But if you follow Twitter after Sunday night, oh man, this offense is terrible. After Wednesday, I like this team. Today, it was just the roller coaster.
Yeah, they're opportunistic on Wednesday. They're scoring 2 runs with only 4 base runners. We focus on the results.
Well,
right?
that's the thing. As actually, their offense has been better today than it was Wednesday.
A lot more base runners.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, the thing about today was in a ballpark that tends to give up big numbers. You were primed to do that because of the inconsistency of the starter. Matzik, he was so wild, so he had a lot of base runners early. And 5 base hits, and really not that many hard hit balls. Rizzo's got a bunt single. Castro had a bloop single. Soler had a broken bat single. Anthony's other hit was a solid single to right. Holt had a solid single to right. So no extra base hits.
Contra. It's Morneau. Back on WGN Sunday afternoon, 3 Central, to wrap up the series and road trip before we head back home. Kyle Hendricks will make his season debut. It's Jordan Lyles. Opposite field base hit for Hundley. He's now 1 for 4. Strike called on Blackman. Did not start this game. He struck out, walked, and scored. Houston beat the Texas Rangers 5-1 today. That's a final in Arlington. Twins leading the White Sox 3-0 there in the top of the ninth. U.S. Cellular Field opener. Late in Cleveland, Detroit leading the Indians 8-3 as they go to the 8th inning.
Banged out 17 hits as they look to go 4-0.
Red Sox Yankees tonight. The scheduled starters Miley and Eovaldi. Isn't that weird? I don't think of those two guys with those teams, but Red Sox 2-1, Yanks 1-2. Chop foul.
See where Ian Kennedy left to start yesterday with a hamstring strain. Matt Cain to the DL, right? See that Giant club. Chance of injuries blowing up on them is quite high.
Yep. It's Castro in shallow center with the grab, 2 outs. Bring up LeMahieu, who's had a perfect day, 3 at bats, 3 singles, an RBI and a run.
Through 2 miserable seasons, and normally you talk about a guy needing a change of scenery. Usually that implies a change of team, but for Edwin, maybe move to the bullpen will really help him.
I would call it a change of scenery when you look at the bullpens here at Coors Field. Dug out to the western wilderness. One on LeMahieu. Ball, Castro. Oh, that ball went right through his glove or what? Be an error on Starlin. He's had a rough spring defensively. The inning continues, and I'll tell you what, I don't know why this has been the case. I think that's the 3rd or 4th error Castro's made with Edwin Jackson on the mound going back to spring training. Very weird.
Yeah, just kind of funky approach on that one. Seemed like he should have been able to get in front of it. Played it off to the side and just whiffed on it. Maybe took a little bit of a tricky bounce on him.
First and 3rd. Here's Dickerson. Has he hit a ball to the full side of second base all day?
No, lined up to 3rd base, flew to left, walked, and that base hit was kind of left center, and then he got thrown out at second, trying to stretch it into a double. Yeah, that's watching him hit. I think you have to tell yourself, well, let's see what he can do with a good inside heater. Proves that he can turn on that one, then you got a guy who can do a lot of damage.
Paying attention. Okay, so he took that one off the chest, but he got the ball. Oh, we're terrific. 2 strikes on Dickerson.
Two strikes, 2 outs. And then you made take off here. Cubs might not even throw through.
The air has gotten very heavy all of a sudden in the last few minutes. chance of rain. A lot of condo buildings and a lot of very new buildings around this ballpark. Very busy area. Runners holding. Lodo or downtown Denver. And if you want some frozen yogurt, you can get that too. Two now. Corey Dickerson. How about the start Adrian Gonzalez has gotten off to? He is 10 for 13. 2 doubles, 5 home runs. He's hitting .769 and slugging .2077.
5 home runs in 3 games, a major league record to start a season. Change-ups down. He won't chase those.
Gonzalez has never finished above 4th in the MVP balloting, 7th last year when he won a Gold Glove and led the majors in RBIs. Off to a sizzling start with the Dodgers. They're in Arizona tonight. Swing and a miss, strike 3. So Jackson works around the 2-out error by Castro. We go to the 9th, 5-1 Rockies. A 5-1 game here, 3 outs to go. Cubs will try to rally and at least get to the closer Hawkins, but it'll be left-hander Boone Logan. Signed a 3-year, $16.5 million deal prior to last year, and then ended up going to the disabled list 4 different times.
Looking to bounce back after that rough year, injuries and ineffective when he did pitch for the Rockies. He had a 6.84 ERA. in 35 appearances.
There's a former Rocky, Jonathan Herrera.
Logan, a veteran, broke into the White Sox in '06. He'd been with the Braves and the Yankees.
Herrera in his Cup debut. He flies out to Gonzalez. Think of the last time the Cubs before September 1st had 3 switch hitters on the roster, but we've got 3 here in the 9th inning. Herrera, now Alcantara, and then Fowler. Ground ball to Lewinsky to his left. 2 away.
That's why Alcantara is such an intriguing guy, because he can cover a lot of different positions defensively for you and also switch hits. So he's the ultimate utility player in that regard. Travis Wood, the starter today, is on the hook for the loss. He worked 4 2/3, allowed 7 hits, 3 runs. Bergman in relief, figures to get the win.
He came on in that 5th inning in a 1-1 tie, got that key double play ball. Help out the starter Matson.
Rockies scored in the bottom of the 5th to take the lead. See if Fowler can salvage something here today. 0 for 4 so far in his return to Coors Field.
Painted play to Lewinsky, and the Rockies win. 5-1 the final score from Denver. We'll be back with more in a moment.